What's up, y'all? Today I interview Gil Allouch, who is the CEO at Metadata. I drop into his offsite in Miami, Florida, and he shares his founder story, go-to-market tips, and much more. You should definitely check it out.
Being a founder is something I always wanted to be. Um, I always wanted to not have a ceiling to the amount of work I can put and also to the amount of return I get from it. I also always had challenges with existing systems and existing limitations. And so it made me, as an employee, I always wanted to do more and I didn't really like the limits. And if I didn't think that I can grow as much as I want, I would usually leave or not be a fit with that organization. And so for those reasons, I always wanted to start a business. I learned early in my life that software and programming is something that I have going for me. And I made a decision to have a plan to come to the United States. So I started my first business, I should say, when I was really young. Like I started, not legally, but like when I was like 8 years old or so, I used to buy firecrackers in France, which I have family there, and in my bag, I would have the firecrackers, and in Israel, I would sell them to legitimately between 10, 15, or even 20 times sometimes the price, like so much more expensive. And I did it for many years, and I realized like, this is really fun, like having my own thing and making lots of money from it. And I had a few more businesses afterwards. I had like a computer fixing business, etc. So I always liked the idea of owning my own business, working as much as I want, making lots of money on the other end, and not having limits. And because software was my skill set, I wanted to start a software company. I didn't have any idea how to start a software company. I did not grow up in Silicon Valley. In Israel, I did not grow up in Tel Aviv. I didn't have any relatives who started, anyone that I knew who started a software company. So I wrote my plan. I think I started writing the plan maybe when I was 18 or so. I modified the plan while I was doing my post-military trip in India. And I basically worked out stage by stage until I got to the MBA graduate school and first time had an opening to doing it. So yeah, that was my plan. So the inspiration for Metadata wasn't like a middle of the night idea. It was because my first job after my graduate school was working in marketing. In fact, I got this opportunity from the CMO to work on this product that was grossing like 50K a year. They were about to sunset it. And they told me like, look, you're a green MBA, you're working here. Why don't you take this project? It's grossing like 50K a year in revenues. We're about to shut it down, so you can't fuck it up. And you're not getting any new budgets, but if you can make it something successful, it's a big success for you. So I was like, I'll take it. And my roommate was working with me. He was an SDR. I made him the salesperson for it and got him SKUs, like incentives from his boss to sell this product. I got a secretary to be like the billing manager. I was the marketer and the sales engineer. And we got this business unit that was making 50K to make about $1.5 million in a year and a half. So I was shocked by it. It made a lot of enemies, AE enemies, because they saw me competing with them with this cloud product. And I was like, fuck, this is a thing. Like, there's a framework I can use. And then I joined 2 other startups and I applied the same framework in these 2 other startups. And then, because I'm a software engineer, I knew what was technically possible to build, what I have available as a B2B marketer. The gap was so big, I knew it's going to be an uphill battle because MarTech is a tough space, but I still wanted to fill that gap. And so I was really inspired to do it. And I took a year to do it as a consultant to see if it's repeatable and it works. And once I found out that it did, I couldn't go back and I had to start it. Okay, when I think about product market fit, I think about themes that are repeatable. So if I have a software and I have 20 customers, but I customize each and every one of those deliverables for the customers, I have a software shop, but I don't really have a product market fit. If I can sell my product, but I have to sell it different ways every time, I may not have a product market fit. If I sell my product successfully to 20 different profiles, I may not have product market fit. But if I see some pattern in there, it's a repeatable cycle, it's a repeatable sales, I say more or less the same thing, the value proposition is more or less the same, the delivery is more or less the same, the product is more or less the same, I may use some professional services, I may do some custom work, I may use some different words to close the deal, But if it's the exception and not the rule, and there is a pattern, I think at that point I start to think maybe I have product market fit. The second thing I will say, as a more than after doing this for 7 years, is that the first thing I would focus on is not sales, but rather retention. Today, if I was to start metadata from scratch, I would say, you can close deals, that's great. See how many of the deals you close, you renewed for the same or more or higher price. And when you see that, give yourself a year. If you can wait a year, you can start growing, but you don't grow too fast, and you make sure that your retention is truly like the same retention, the cohort retention that VCs are looking at. Like you have to look at the entire year, the same cohort, did it renew? Well, what's the GRR? What's the NRR? Once you start learning those and you feel like you have good foundation there, then you hit the gas as fast as possible. Get the funding, see if the multiplication of AEs in quota get you there. And now you know that at least on a smaller scale, the retention is there and your machine is not going to break down when you try to put a lot of pressure into it. The first thing that you need to do as a B2B marketer is you need to have the entire universe of companies and prospects, the people within those companies that you market to, and not worry about anyone else. You shouldn't have to worry about marketing to people who are not in your buying committee, the stakeholders, the decision maker, the buyer, etc. You don't have to worry about anyone else within those companies. And then you should not also spend money on companies outside of that set. So that's the first fundamental thing, and I think that can be today covered fully by the data sources. There is no excuse for any VP of marketing in any B2B company today to be marketing to the wrong prospects or the wrong customers. None. So that's the first thing. That's just making sure that every dollar that you spend, whether it worked or not, you sent it, invested it in the right company, the right person. The second thing is, I'm not going to give any golden bullets because I don't think they exist. Even if they exist today, like conversational ads is amazing. It was more amazing 3 years ago, and it will probably be less amazing 3 years from now. So instead of giving like the particular examples for today, I would say experimentation with no sacred cows. If you're a VP of marketing and you're already using data to go after the right companies and the right people, no one knows what's the best content type, the best channel, the best version of the creative to use, the best combination. So the best thing you can do is have no sacred cows, and sacred cows are things like Facebook doesn't work for B2B. Instagram is not for CISOs, No one is using TikTok. Yes, people do. It's usually the 1%. And so be that 1% that experiments with something completely new. And as long as they have some protections, right? You don't go on Facebook and you go after consumer targeting. No, you use a custom audience that you have from B2B, but nonetheless, you're now trying a new channel. You're now trying a new tactic. And so experimentation as a means to an end to figure out your marketing mix, I think is something every VP of marketing needs to absorb. You could be comfortable with failures and also plan for success. When they see the sign of success for an experiment, ahead of time know how much they're going to triple or quadruple the investment there. So Logan right here is the one who wrote that post, and he's the one managing the agency business unit within Metadata. And it's a change. It's a big change. It's not just repackaging. It's a true full change we went through. And the reason we went through this change is because we realized that there is a portion of our customers who have enough experience, knowledge, and an innovative mindset, an experimental mindset that allows them to take a whole new paradigm. I just hopped in one of my customer calls earlier this week, and she told me, when I started using Metadata, I had to forget all the things I knew how to run performance marketing for B2B in the native channels. I had to forget it because it was so drastically different. And it's true. Because there is such a drastic change, we found that there's a portion of customers and marketers who are scientific, technical, they have experience, they know what to do, and Metadata just makes them exponentially successful. There's another portion of customers who don't know how to use it properly, and they might be overwhelmed, they might not know how to use all the features, what playbooks to apply, so on and so forth. And we found that talking to them every week and recommending some things and giving them education here and there was just not cutting it. Wasn't enough. Especially it wasn't enough because there was such turnover sometimes in the teams. And one marketer now knows so much, maybe they're promoted, maybe they go somewhere else. And so that would affect the ROI that you can generate by using a system like Metadata. And the other thing that we found out is that many times the VP of marketing, they want to hire an agency. They many times wanted to give us the contract, so many times, but we didn't really want to. We're like, look, we don't really do this. It's not really our business. But at some point we realized that if we don't help the customer actually execute and be there with them, and not just give them advice, but actually like hold their hand, execute it for them. If they want maybe for a long term, help them with creative, which is another blocker they used to have, then they may never get to the point where they see the crazy ROI that is possible with Metadata. I mean, at the end of the day, we want every customer of ours to have a crazy spike in pipeline and a crazy decrease in customer acquisition costs. We know how to do that for sure. And so I wanted to tell the customer, look, we're going to help you and prove to you with this help, with these professional services, that it's possible, show you that it's possible, and after we exemplify this, then the customer, they get to that aha moment. You know, there's no excuse why this is not working. There is no like any reason behind why this, you know, why the pipeline didn't happen. Now we're there to like actually be the partner and do this. That was the major reason we did it, because I really wanted us to be able to guarantee the results. Tell them like, look, ROI is absolutely, if you use the right data and you use experimentation, there is no way for you not to find your marketing mix. And so we now go all the way and do it with the customer. And we can already see like the results are there, because once you apply, many of our people on our team are former customers of Metadata who either moved somewhere else or were in the market, and I was like, hey, come work for us because you know how to operate the tool, you're a good marketer. Many of them, we can see the results, so we can see if they're good marketers. Come do that for the best companies in the space, you know, come do it for like Yelp and Zoom and Drift and Gainsight. And so you have now we have that talent where a VP of marketing doesn't just buy a piece of software with an hour or two of professional services. No, they buy a piece of software that is revolutionary. They also get like top 5% of the market of demand gen managers, helping them execute, think about the strategy, think about the playbooks, make sure the VP of sales is getting the right pipeline and it's converting to revenue. Those kind of conversations are happening, and it's just a much more holistic package for the VP of marketing. They get a lot of comfort that the piece of software that they bought is being used properly. I think the future of B2B marketing, given AI autonomous agents, is going to be, I think it's going to be as simple as a CEO is hiring marketers who are autonomous AI agents to do all of the work. Meaning the vast majority of the tasks that are now executed by humans will be done by AI autonomous agents. Imagine getting an email from an AI autonomous agent telling you that you're at pipeline, but given the results, if you spend 50K more on ads this month, I can triple the pipeline or double the pipeline. You get that email as a CEO or as a VP of marketing. You respond, yes, approved, and the AI autonomous agent actually goes and executes those campaigns. I think that's completely possible, and it's very likely to be the inevitable future of B2B marketing. Marketers, the human marketers, I still think will work on brand, ideas for content, positioning and messaging. They will be working on super interesting tasks, but I don't think they will be involved at all in execution, and maybe not even in the analysis. That's where I think it's going, and that's where I want Metadata. I'm positioning Metadata to provide that autonomous AI agent. And then today, generative AI is changing a bunch of things. Creative generation is so much faster now with Gen AI. We use Gen AI tools within our agency to create a bunch of variations quickly. Copy, so by analyzing what copies our customers used and then how much pipeline the particular campaigns who use that creative got, we're able to now infer the right copy, and so we use generative AI to create copy for the ads. We're not yet doing this, but I know of other marketers who are using ChatGPT to generate thousands of SEO pages, and I know at least one marketer who is, I think they are ranking first page for 150 of their keywords, and they spent very little money doing that. I would say in the past they would probably have to spend like $1 million getting that result. They moved from like tens of thousands of visits to like millions. So they did that with ChatGPT, and a workflow. There's some human involved, of course, at the level that we are today. But these things are already being used today in generative AI to do some of the, I would say, even interesting tasks. Of course, the technical mundane operations, we use that in metadata, heuristics, decision table, the data combination, machine learning models, all of that is kind of old news. The generative AI and the autonomous AI agents, that's what's coming. It's already here, but it's going to be coming to the average marketer soon. You can't say everything should be attributable and have a positive ROI, and in the same sentence, you cannot say experiment, try and fail. You can't say to someone, I need you to experiment to find exponential opportunities, and meanwhile tell them 100% of your tasks should have a positive ROI. That can't happen together. By definition, you have to say, as a CEO, and you have to say that both to the board and to your VPs, what is the percentage of failure I'm comfortable with? And that percentage becomes your budget for experimentation. I'm comfortable with about 20-25% failure, so use about 20-25% of your experiments, and even if you fail on all of them, that's okay. But then, guess what? Many of our experiments became our best campaigns. I'm thinking about like conversational ads in 2021 or 2020. We had no budget. I know that because I went to my VP of marketing and told him, remember the budget we talked about? You have, I think, a third of it. And I told him the goals, though, are still the same goals. I told him, he was like, oh, what the fuck am I doing with that? I was like, don't try the same thing, that's for sure. Whatever it is that you were planning on doing with that money, now that you have a third of it, try something completely different. I hope you'll succeed, try it. Try something else. So by definition, I told him, like, you have to experiment. And he did. He went and experimented with a bunch of things. One of them was conversational ads. He was pretty much the first marketer out there trying it. It was so successful, he just used all of the budget on it, got us better results than he committed to with 3x the budget. All of this happened, and it only happened because of an open mind to experimentation. Later on, when he was asking me to paint a truck or like do some kind of a commercial with a truck outside of an event, blah, 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 and he was like, I don't have any ROI proof it's going to work or not. I was like, what's the cost? He was like, 15 grand. I'm like, go for it. Because this is the experimentation mindset. Like, I'm thinking to myself, maybe that's going to be the next big thing for us. Maybe not. It wasn't. But it wasn't bad either. And so, like, I think that mindset of everything has to be attributable is dangerous because, one, it doesn't leave place for mistakes and experiments. And two, it also leads to lying and false reporting. Because if something has to be positive ROI and the person doesn't want to get fired, guess what? They're going to find something that has positive ROI. AKA agencies, many times marketing agencies will come to you every month, show you this beautiful report about the click-through rate and the conversion and this and that. You're like, you can look at your pipeline and see if performance marketing is working for you or not. It's not like you don't have to have complicated reports. And so if you already have the result at the end, the analytics are going to support that result. And to your final question about attribution, like complicated attribution, so definitely don't agree that everything has to have attribution. Definitely not everything has to have positive ROI, otherwise there is no experimentation. I support that fully. I do think that head of sales and head of marketing and the CEO have to agree on the fundamental rules of what is pipeline. Does it have to, does the main decision maker have to be in a new opportunity? Great. Does the opportunity have to create in the last 45 days? Whatever the rules they have, ideally not too many and simple, the most important is that they agree on them. If they agree on them and they make sense, good. You have an attribution model. It's never going to be 100%, but it's better than nothing, and you can refresh it, and you have to make sure everyone is in sync. The worst thing is when different departments in the company have different ideas of what attribution is. That's a recipe for failure.